It is April 16th, 2007, at the campus of Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia. It's early Monday morning, around 9:45 a.m. Young adults flood into the classrooms to begin their education and build a better future for them and their families. What was coming next was something nobody could have expected. Sung Hui Cho enters Norris Hall and begins walking the halls, looking for victims. The young men and women are sitting in their classroom when all of a sudden they hear a noise that at the time they thought were fireworks. They were wrong. Bullets fly through the air in the classroom. Students began falling to the ground, screaming in agony and covered in blood. Panic and fear can be felt in the air. The place of higher education that was designed to provide opportunities is now a full-on war zone. Students riddle the floor, covered in blood and screaming in pain. Who would do this to us? Footsteps can be heard, getting closer and closer to the door. Welcome to Find Me in the Dark, a podcast covering all things true crime. This is episode 6, the Virginia Tech Mass Shooting, Part 1. Hello, and welcome back to Find Me in the Dark. I am your host, Eric Phillips, along with my co-host, Robert Prestige.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
So, yeah, man. That last episode was pretty crazy, pretty cool.
Yeah, episode 5.
A lot of good feedback, man. I've been getting messages on Facebook and stuff talking about just how much the fans love this stuff, you know, that story is so crazy and so relevant still, you know, even though it was only like 5 years ago, but... You know, you got to think, dude. You got to think like, isolation for teenagers like that, like the whole homeschooling thing. Like, you have to really dissect how important it is to the social aspect of high school, you know?
Agreed.
Not just the educational aspect, but being around other teenagers and learning how to just communicate with each other, you know? So today's episode... is if you're over 20, you remember this, you know, because
I definitely remember where I was when this happened.
Man, because it was just unbelievable because, you know, less than a decade before was Columbine. And, you know, we as obviously as a country and as a community, we're hoping that would be the last time that we hear something like that. But unfortunately, I just don't understand. I don't know what it is that makes people want to hurt other people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why we have so much. We have a plethora of content.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Because, unfortunately,
I would rather have no content and have everybody.
I agree with you 100%, Eric.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and do my per episode warning. Today is the mass shooting of Virginia Tech. A lot of violence, a lot of, we're going to really get into, you know, the victims and what happened to them, their injuries, and just the overall shock and fear of what happened. It's a really sad story and one that I think could have been avoided.
Yes, you'll see. There's a lot of factors that play into the buildup of this, and we're really going to kind of dive into this young man's childhood and the illnesses that he had and things that could have been done to prevent this.
Yeah, and I think a pattern that's forming in all of our episodes is that it seems like the government and just other, they're failing.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And they're just, there's certain things that are happening, and a lot of it's mental illness, and they are just not following up, I guess, maybe.
Right.
The way that they should be.
Yeah, it's the same story with like Parkland, Columbine, all these stories. And it's like, dude, we always say it, our favorite line from basketball, like, if you fuck up 14 or 15 more times, man, we're going to come get you. But it goes to show how important these mental health facilities are, and just overall, like, everybody talks about your physical health and how, you should exercise and make sure that you're healthy, but mental health, the brain is such a powerful thing. It can make you do just this story, in my opinion, just shows how fragile people are and how fragile the human mind is and how powerful. It's just such a sad story.
It is. Let me just thank everybody before we dive into this chaotic episode. I just want to thank everybody from the bottom of our hearts that listen to us, and we're constantly getting new fans.
Oh yeah.
And it blows my mind. I was talking to Eric, and I talked to a couple of my family members about how it blows my mind that something that we do for fun, that we enjoy, has turned into enjoyment, I guess, for other people, which is
entertainment.
Yeah, I guess it's exciting, to say the least, and it definitely keeps us going. So obviously you can find us on Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Patreon. We released a couple other Patreon episodes. Our last one was the girl who played Ducky.
Oh my God, yeah.
On Land Before Time, which is a super tragic story. So if you would like to hear that in the other episodes we put out, we do have a Patreon account set up, and it just helps us. It helps us continue doing what we're doing. It costs money for this equipment.
For everything.
And just for everything, And so I do want to shout out our Patreon members. Ariel Thompson, Eric Wright, Jonathan Yunkel, Josh Bessler, Kelly Landon, Kyle Wenzel, Laura Anderson, Melissa Siebert, and Rhonda Sisko. We really appreciate your contributions to us.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Eric, let's you ready for this?
Yeah, hold on one second. Okay. Another thing is, with the micro episodes, we are really ramping stuff up, man. Like, we've been, talking about all these cases, and really we're getting better at it. We're getting better at being able to just write a script and then boom, record the same day. And another thing I wanted to say is that if you're not in the Facebook group yet, just search Find Me in the Dark podcast and join that group, because we're always in there talking. It doesn't even have to be about the podcast. It can just be about anything true crime. But we do communicate with our fans in there about, what they want to hear, Yep. So with that being said, here is the Virginia Tech mass shooting.
Virginia Tech campus in Blacksburg, Virginia was founded in 1872, and it was originally called Virginia Architectural and Mechanical College. The campus itself is 2,600 acres or 4.1 miles. On an average school year, there are 1,400 staff members and 33,000 students in attendance. Out of 33,000 students, there is one man teetering on the brink of insanity, planning a crime that would not only destroy the lives of everyone on campus, but bring a nation together in solidarity against gun violence in America.
Sung Hui Cho, who we will be referring to as Cho for the remainder of the episode, was born on January 18th, 1984, in the city of Asan in South Korea. In September of 1992, Cho's parents packed up their belongings and moved their 3 children to Detroit, Michigan, before moving to the Washington metropolitan area for a short time before eventually settling down in Centerville, a town in Fairfax County, Virginia. they planted roots in Centerville, opening up a dry cleaning business, and shortly after that became permanent residents of the United States at South Korean nationals.
Cho's parents eventually joined a local community Christian church, resulting in Cho being raised in a strict Christian household. He resented his parents for forcing him to take part in the religion. Growing up in South Korea, Cho's family were extremely concerned about the young boy's behavior. They began to suspect that he may be selectively mute or mentally ill. Cho attended elementary school in Virginia, where his behavior continued to concern his peers. After graduating elementary school, he went on to attend Ormond Stone Middle School.
During his 8th grade year in 1999, the Columbine Massacre happened, resulting with him becoming infatuated with this crime. Ben Baldwin, a fellow student of Cho who sat next to him in Spanish class, recalls seeing something written on his notebook along the lines of, "Fuck you all. I hope you burn in hell," which Ben assumed the comment was aimed at the students or faculty of his middle school.
His erratic behavior did not stop there. During his time in school, he was given an assignment in which he wrote a paper stating he would like to repeat the Columbine Massacre. The teacher read his paper and became incredibly concerned, so much so that the school contacted Cho's sister, and she decided it would be best to relay the information to their parents. His parents sent Cho to a psychiatrist where he was diagnosed with selective mutism and social anxiety disorder.
Selective mutism affects under 1% of the population, and Cho was a part of that number. Selective mutism is a mental illness that is often paired with social anxiety. Selective mutism is when a person becomes unintentionally silent, regardless of the consequences of said silence. Early on in Cho's life, people around him began to believe he had undiagnosed autism, but according to his parents, this diagnosis was never officially established. His parents tried to combat the illness with therapy sessions and medication, but regardless of the attempts, Cho was put in special classes in school and received 50 minutes a week of speech therapy.
Along with his therapy and medication, his parents began taking Cho to church, attempting to use an unconventional religious approach in treating his illness. His pastor suspected that Cho had undiagnosed autism and pleaded with his mother to take him to the hospital to be evaluated, but his mother ultimately declined.
Lots of information on that one, man. Lots of information.
It's only getting started.
It's only the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But
he's not even in high school yet.
I know. And it seems like, how many more signs do you need that something is wrong?
Right.
And then they go with these, they go to the doctor, they put him on medication, and then they start doing dumb shit like taking him to church and hoping that that's going to help him. Listen, man, you can believe whatever you want. You can go to church. You can, read whatever holy book you want. Just don't come to my house knocking on my door selling me a Bible. But you have to be a realist and have common sense.
Right.
And knowing what you know, it's just not, there's just nothing you can do with religion and mental illness. They don't go hand in hand. They're not, there's nothing you can do to treat it by praying. It's not going to work.
Right.
It's
a chemical imbalance.
Chemical imbalance. You need medication, and maybe he needed more therapy sessions.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just give that up. And then everybody that meets the guy, the kid, says that they think he's autistic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on the parents of that child to get him evaluated. And I don't understand why they pass up on that decision multiple times. It's just unreal.
You can definitely tell that something is going on with him mentally. Yeah. There's no question about it.
Right. And when you got your pastor saying, "Hey,
right,
like
right.
let's do something about this," and then what's weird with me is that these people are diagnosing him with selective mutism. I was like, I've never even heard of that shit.
Yeah, we definitely looked that one.
Yeah, I was like, how are you diagnosing him with that when I've never heard of this shit? But yeah, and then the special classes in school, the speech therapy, it's all just adding up to there being a massive problem with this kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, here we go. Here we go with this shit where the system is failing him again. His parents are failing him. The school is failing him. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just sad. I wish that he would have maybe had different circumstances and was able to get more help and maybe try a different medication or multiple medications or just anything to help this guy before the inevitable.
Right.
You know?
So you ready to get back into this?
Yeah, we might as well.
Alrighty.
Cho graduated middle school in spite of his mental issues and attended Westfield High School, where he was viciously bullied for his shyness and unusual behavior. While in high school, he continued on in his special classes for his emotional disturbance classification. Until his junior year, Cho continued his therapy, but eventually decided to discontinue his treatment. Cho ended up making it through high school, graduating in 2003. After his graduation from high school, Cho applied to Virginia Tech, but due to federal laws, Westfield High was barred from disclosing information about Cho's mental disabilities without his permission. Cho refused to allow them to disclose this information.
Cho was accepted to Virginia Tech in 2004, where he would study as an undergraduate major in business information technology. During his senior year, Cho decided to change his major to English. His behavior did not change. In fact, it escalated rapidly. His professors and fellow students described him as angry, hateful, aggressive, and detached. He would frequently make female students uncomfortable by taking pictures of their legs under their desks without their knowledge, completely violating their privacy.
His professors all shared the same outlook of Cho's behavior. They saw his writing assignments as menacing, hateful, violent, and angry. Cho's professors did everything they could to help him, even going as far as to spend extra time with him after class was dismissed. One of his poetry professors, Lucinda Roy, began meeting with Cho one-on-one after class. During her time with Cho, she grew fearful of his erratic and violent behavior. In fact, it got so bad that she told her assistant that she would use the name of a deceased professor as a code word if she were to feel she was in immediate danger.
In literature class, the students were told to introduce themselves one by one, but when it came to Cho's turn, he remained silent. At the beginning of class, the students were required to sign in. Instead of signing his name, Cho drew a question mark, which in turn prompted his professors and fellow students to refer to him as the question mark kid. The students found his behavior to be odd and unsettling. He was frequently seen standing, motionless, staring out windows, completely silent. He was also seen riding his bicycle in circles for long periods of time in the parking lot.
While his social interactions were strange with all students, he was especially awkward while around members of the opposite sex. 2 of his previous dorm mates stated that Cho had stalking habits, stalking at least 2 students that they had known of. The first stalking incident occurred November 27th of 2005. Cho messaged a fellow female student on AIM and somehow found out where she lived on campus. He decided to make a visit.
Cho showed up at her door and explained that he was there to make sure she was cool. Cho told one of his dorm mates that during a visit, all he could see was promiscuity in her eyes. When he introduced himself, he stated that his name was question mark, which made the female student so uneasy she contacted campus police and made a complaint about Cho's constant messaging and unannounced visit to her dorm room. 2 uniformed officers decided they needed to speak with Cho about his intrusive behavior. They explained to Cho that if he continued to contact her, there would be serious consequences for his actions.
Cho ceased all contact with the student. On December 13th, 2005, Cho contacted another female student via AIM. He went to her dorm room and left a disturbing message on the whiteboard hanging on her door. It was a line from Romeo and Juliet, Act 2, Scene 2, saying, "A name, I know not how to tell who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself, because it is an enemy to thee. Had I written, I would tear the word." The young lady was not as concerned as the previous woman he had stalked, until a fellow roommate of Cho, John Koch, contacted her to explain that he believes Cho to be a schizophrenic and informed her of the previous stalking, which prompted the female student to contact campus police.
Later that same day, Cho sent a message to John Koch saying, "I might as well kill myself now." John contacted Cho's father to get advice on how to handle the situation. Both men contacted campus authorities, so they went to Cho's dorm and escorted him to New River Valley Community Services Board, the Virginia Mental Health Agency. After they evaluated Cho, it was decided that he required hospitalization due to his mental state. The physician that evaluated Cho came to the conclusion that he showed signs of flat affect and depressed mood disorder.
Cho denied having any suicidal thoughts, but it was decided that he was a danger to himself and was committed temporarily at Carilion St. Albans Behavior Health Center pending a commitment hearing before the Virginia District Court. Justice Barnett decided that Cho was a threat to himself due to his mental issues, but decided that Cho should seek outpatient treatment instead of being committed. On December 14th of 2005, Cho was released from the behavioral center and began his outpatient treatment on a regular basis. So this is when it really starts to go south. You know what I mean? Like, obviously he already had his issues beforehand, but they're just progressively getting worse with age, regardless of the therapy, regardless of whatever medication he's on. And I think, you know, his social awkwardness and his mental illnesses got worse in college. Like, it's like he doesn't know how to communicate, especially with females, man. That shit he's doing with these girls is so weird. And being diagnosed with, what is it, the flat affect? Mm-hmm. That's so weird. Like, it's what exactly is it? It's like you have like flat emotions, right?
Yeah, basically.
Like, basically, it's like you're neither here nor there. You don't have ups and downs. It's like, it's almost like the opposite of what we have, bipolar 2.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's like the Iceman.
Yeah, he just has, it's just the no fucks given disease.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's really what it is. And then social anxiety and all that stuff. And then he starts, what is up with this like alter ego, the question mark, you know? Like, that's so...
I mean, he kind of took it and ran with it. You know?
Yeah, it's like he's like disassociating with, like, it's almost like he knows that he has certain things that aren't a part of his personality, so he creates this other personality that is almost the exact opposite of what he naturally is.
Right.
It's scary, man.
That it is.
And, you know, just, I mean, his teachers see this stuff.
We talked about it. The teacher had a safe word, basically, when she was dealing with him.
Yeah, that's so scary.
I mean, you tell me that that's not enough?
Right. And then how come, you know, this guy has a history of this stalking behavior with that one girl, with the first girl, right? And then he's told, you know, leave this girl alone. You're not going to be communicating with her. No more of this harassment shit because she just doesn't want anything to do with you. So what does he do?
I'll find another one.
And then what happens? The exact same thing, except for, you know, the Coke actually contacts this girl and says, hey, you know, watch out for this guy. And she listens and then contacts campus police. And I don't know how many officers are on campus police. It can't be that many.
Right.
You would think it's not that many. So they probably already know who Cho is. And, I mean...
Like, oh, this is becoming a regular occurrence.
Yeah, why aren't you actually, like, arresting this guy?
Well, and then after this, it seems like his feelings got hurt because the same night he decided that he wanted to kill himself. Yeah, which, you know, man, like, hey, you know, commit this guy a little bit longer. These evaluations are not enough, obviously, because, I mean, even with me and you know, with our history of mental illness and stuff like that, like, it took a little bit longer to be diagnosed than these, you know. You think?
Yeah, like I went undiagnosed into my 30s. You know what I mean? And I mean, of course, the depression and anxiety and all my other cocktail of really awesome things about me, I at least got diagnosed before that. But the bipolar disorder is probably what was driving all of, you know, my bullshit.
Right.
And it's clear that this guy's got some shit going on.
Yeah.
That everybody sees and nobody does anything about it. And there's got to be a bunch of programs available to him. But The problem is you can't really force him. He's an adult, so what are you going to do, man?
Right.
But I think now we're going to go into the preparation for the inevitable disaster.
Yeah, and just how he was able to purchase these the weapons that he's going to use and things like that.
So disappointing. I don't want to get political, but we got to do better, Rob.
Yeah.
We got to do better.
Yeah, I get it.
All right. On February 9th, Cho purchased a .22 caliber Walther P22 semi-automatic pistol from TGS-Com Inc. TGS-Com shipped the gun to JND Pawnbrokers in Blacksburg, Virginia. Cho completed the legally required background check and was able to take possession of the handgun. On March 13th, he bought a second handgun, a 9mm Glock 19 semi-automatic pistol from Roanoke Firearms. Using his permanent resident card and driver's permit, Cho was able to prove his age and Virginia residence and waited the 30-day periods between the purchase of each gun.
On March 22nd, he purchased 2 10-round magazines for the P22 through eBay, and from Eldridge Shooting Supplies, he purchased hollow point bullets. He was able to purchase these weapons because he did not disclose on his form that he was ordered by the Virginia court to undergo outpatient treatment at a mental health facility. Cho was ready. He was now prepared to take revenge on society, to eliminate those who he felt slighted by. Cho began to write and record his deranged manifesto, the writings of a man coming unhinged.
I didn't have to do this. I could have left. I could have fled. But no, I will no longer run. If not for me, for my children, for my brothers and sisters, that you I did it for them. You had 100 billion chances and ways to have avoided today, but you decided to spill my blood. You forced me into a corner and gave me only one option. The decision was yours. Now you have blood on your hands that will never wash off. You sadistic snobs, I may be nothing but a piece of You have vandalized my heart, raped my soul, and torched my conscience. You thought it was one pathetic void life you were extinguishing. Thanks to you, I die, like Jesus Christ, to inspire generations of the weak and the defenseless people. Do you know what it feels like to be spit on your face and have trash shoved down your throat? Do you know what it feels like to dig your own grave? Do you know what it feels like to have your throat slashed from ear to ear? Do you know what it feels like to be torched alive? Do you know what it feels like to be humiliated and be impaled upon on a cross and left to bleed to death for your amusement? You have never felt a single ounce of pain your whole life, yet you want to inject as much misery in our lives as you can, just because you can. You had everything you wanted. Your Mercedes wasn't enough, you brats. Your golden necklaces weren't enough, you snobs. Your trust fund wasn't enough. Your vodka and cognac weren't enough. All your debaucheries weren't enough. Those weren't enough to fulfill your hedonistic needs. You had everything. You just loved crucifying me. You loved inducing cancer in my head, terrorizing my heart, and raping my soul all this time. When the time came, I did it. I had to.
All right. So now that we heard that guy's manifesto, Cho's manifesto, I mean, there's so much to unpack. Like, I mean, that's only a little bit of it, okay? Mm-hmm. You guys, you can find it online. It's in text. We actually have it right here, and we're probably just going to talk about a little bit of it. But one thing I want to touch on before is why is it optional to disclose your mental illness on a form to get a gun?
It's really not optional.
Yeah, but
he just chose not to.
Okay, but how do you not catch that? They're like, well, this guy said he didn't. I believe him. He looks like a good guy. Like, there's no way that should slip through the cracks.
That's why gun laws were talked about after this whole incident
right.
forever.
Yeah. But
which we'll probably get into later.
I'm sure we will, even though nobody's going to want to hear that shit, but right. I don't care. Let's look at this line, dude.
Where you at?
I'm at just the top part one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the happiness I could have had mingling among you hedonists, being counted as one of you. Only if you didn't fuck the living shit out of me.
What a way to start.
I mean, what is this guy seeing? That, I mean, the hedonist part. Okay, you're at college, bro. You're supposed to be a hedonist. That's fine, you know. But he's got. I mean,
how about? We just got to part 1. How about part 2?
Okay.
Only if you could be the victim of your reprehensible and wicked crimes, you Christian Nazis, you would have been brute restrained your animal urges to fuck me.
This guy is really scared of everyone fucking him.
For real.
Like, I don't understand dude, nobody. You know why this happened? Because nobody's fucking you. That's why. All the shit you've given me, right back at you with hollow points. And then he holds up a photograph of hollow points.
Right. That's, well.
I mean,
he knows what's up.
For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Can you feel the pain that you fucked us in, you descendants of Satan? Well, can you feel it? There's a lot of talk about getting fucked. There's a lot of this descendants of Satan stuff in it. And
in the Christianity part about Jesus and martyrs. I mean, I think his parents forcing him to be in the Christian church really had a huge effect on his mentality when it comes to that.
It's clear. It's all over this.
Yeah, it's insane.
I mean, die, you descendants of Satan. Fuck you and die now. What?
Do they want to fuck us and pretend to be devout Christians? Do they want to smear dog shit on our face and then give us a dirty towel to wipe it away? Man, this guy.
Look here, and here's will not quench the avenging phoenix that you have caused us to unleash. Generation after generation, we martyrs like Eric and Dylan will sacrifice our lives to fuck you 1,000-fold for what you apostles of sin have done to us. So there's the mention of Columbine.
Yep.
Calling Eric and Dylan martyrs. What, dude? Like,
and that's like the second episode in a row we have.
It seems like pretty influential guys, man. Hey, why don't you just pick a healthier obsession? You know, let the revolution begin. What he says. What the hell does that mean? What revolution are you starting?
He goes, I am Ishmael. I am the anti-terrorist of America.
Congratulations, you have succeeded in extinguishing my life. Vandalizing my heart wasn't enough for you. Raping my soul wasn't enough for you. Committing emotional sodomy on me wasn't enough for you. Every single second wasted on... I mean, I don't even... It's all the same thing, like, over and over again about getting fucked by society, and you know, he really likes playing this victim part, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And then going from playing a victim to being a martyr, like, you know, man, and it just sucks because, like I said before, there's so many warning signs with this guy. I mean, why would you make him an outpatient?
Yeah, I thought that same thing when we were researching this.
I don't get it. And
there's no way.
And even though, I mean, I guarantee you that he legally purchased those guns. I mean, this guy should have been red flagged after all these the stalking stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He should be red flagged as a danger to society. And then all of a sudden, this guy's ordering all these semi-automatic weapons with hollow point bullets. I don't even know how that happens. I mean,
a failed system. That's how it happens.
I mean, this system is so bad. I mean, even after, like, this shit shouldn't have happened after Columbine.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about almost 10 years after the fact, and here we are again.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention what happens after Virginia Tech, you know, with Sandy Hook, Parkland, the Pulse nightclub, Vegas. Like, dude,
it seems like it never ends.
It doesn't end. And I don't really know. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I can tell you that. But you got to do better.
Yeah,
I just want to put it down, dude, because I can't read this shit. it's disheartening, and I don't know, man. So that was part one of the Virginia Tech mass shooting. We will obviously record the second part, but it's going to release as normal. We're not going to do it back to back. We're going to do one episode, and then 2 weeks later, the second part will drop.
Right.
And
which will be, the rest of the story.
The rest of the story.
Which happens in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And then we're going to try not to tap too much into the politics of it.
True.
But I mean, I'm sure we'll bring up a little bit of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine for even me and Rob have different opinions on stuff, and I'm not trying to force my views on anybody, but I don't know any other way to do this besides just us being real and talking about how we feel. It's just how this is. And, if you want to smash that dislike button, I don't give a shit. That's fine. I'm going to talk however I want to talk. I don't know what we're doing in between these things. I know, I don't know if we're going to release a micro anytime soon, probably in the next,
Couple weeks.
If you guys have any ideas for a micro, I mean, we have one in mind that we're not going to talk about right now. But if you have anything in mind, something that you really want to hear, you can either message Find Me in the Dark on Facebook, or you can email us at findmeinthedarkpodcast@gmail.com, or you can just go in the Find Me in the Dark podcast Facebook group and just post in there, and we'll see it. We're always on there.
Yep.
So I just want to say thank you, everybody, for listening. We appreciate all of you. We love you. Stay safe out there. Rob, good job today.
Yeah, same to you as always, Eric.
All right, guys, Find Me in the Dark out.
We love you.